Hello, and welcome to the Potential State. My name is Dr. Assael Romanelli, and I'm coming to you from New York today. And today I'm going to talk about the merits of self-talk. So when I reached Manhattan on Thursday last week, it all came back to me. In the year 2001, after serving in the Army and before my undergrad, I moved to New York City thinking I was going to study acting and philosophy. And I didn't. I ended up working as a waiter and being an intern in a fashion company. And I was living by myself in a small studio apartment. And I was lonely. And I was so lonely. And I remember just talking to myself on days. I'd come back home and I would just talk to myself for hours. And that seemed normal to me. And I remember after 7 months of this, when friends would come over, suddenly it was weird for me to interact with humans because I was always just with myself, with my own thoughts, my own ramblings, my own fears. And when I came back and I landed in Penn Station and I kind of got out of the train, it all came back. And I started talking to myself again in the street and in the hotel room. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this idea because I think something about talking to yourself is really important. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think it's important. And then I'm going to share some tips on what I think you should be doing with talking to yourself, with self-talk. So the first thing is when you talk to yourself, you get perspective. Basically, you're saying things out loud. You're hearing yourself. In narrative therapy, we call it externalizing. Right? You're externalizing. If there's a problem, if I'm angry, and the second I'm talking about my anger, okay, so in narrative therapy, we externalize it. I have a piece of me that is angry. Okay, that's a conscious kind of narrative therapeutic intervention. But when I just talk to myself naturally, I'm externalizing it because who am I talking to, right? So there's someone listening. In that case, it's me. So there's someone that's bigger than me listening to this. So I'm not just the angry part of myself. I'm also the listener. So I'm already forcing myself to be in 2 states, right? 2 states of consciousness in 2 different places, 2 Assaels. And the second I'm doing that, I'm actually lowering the anxiety because I'm stepping out of that trance, of that trauma, if you want, that trauma mind. Trauma mind is when I'm going into fight or flight. The second I'm talking about it, I'm actually hearing myself. So there's two Assaels, there's 2 of me. And that helps me regulate myself. And actually helps me realize that I'm bigger than this specific part. I'm bigger than this problem. I'm bigger than this moment. There's a bigger narrative. There's a story. There's a listener. I'm listening to myself. So something about talking to yourself gives you perspective and actually gives you agency because you're bigger than what you're just saying, than what you're feeling in that moment. You're bigger than what you're saying, but you're also bigger than what you're feeling because you're saying it to someone else. And the second you sound it out loud, you can also allow yourself to play, which is my second point, right? When I'm talking to myself, I'm playing. I'm thinking about my 4-year-old daughter, Lila. She's just talking to her babies. She's talking. She's doing imitations. She's playing. She's entering this potential state of play, of fantasy. And the second I'm talking out loud, I'm trying things out loud. I'm being blunt. I'm being rude. I'm being helpless, feeling sorry for myself. When I finally allow myself, I'm letting it all this out. And if we refer to there's a price to being nice. When I let everything out, I can finally move forward. So if I need to curse, or if I need to feel sorry for myself, or blame someone, or cry, or laugh, so I'm letting it all out, and then the next thing happens. So actually speaking is allowing me to play and liberate myself and keep moving. I don't get stuck in that feeling, stuck in that emotion, stuck in that thought. It helps me lower the obsessiveness of it. I'm talking about it, I flow through it if I allow myself to be completely honest, and I'm not just trying to be nice the whole time to myself even. The second thing is that it regulates yourself. When I was a kid and my father would come back from America with gifts, I would wait, and I'd have this like 40 ththings on a list. He'd bring back 2, and it was never what I wanted. And I used to get so upset, and I used to close myself in the room. I used to talk to myself. And my dad, I don't remember what I used to say, but my dad said I used to say, this is not fair, and Daddy promised me this, and he did give me that. And now my son's doing it. My son, Sach, my 6-year-old son, so he does it a lot. And I realized that's the way he soothes. He self-soothes. He's talking to himself. God, it's so unfair, and why didn't Abba give me this, and I deserve this, and I told him, and I think this is a process of like finally finding the words, talking to themselves. You're calming yourself down. You're validating yourself. You're calming yourself down. You're regulating yourself. And of the fourth reason, which is it's a chance to rehearse. Our unconscious mind does not understand that something is imaginary. So if I'm rehearsing, the whole premise of psychodrama, right, is psychodrama therapy through drama is I practice something in the hyper reality, but my unconscious mind thinks it already happened, right? It doesn't understand like imagination in that sense. So the second I'm doing something, I'm rehearsing life, right? Life is too short to only live it once. Somebody once told me. So by actually preparing myself ahead of time, I'm preparing my mind. It's as if I've already done it. And many, many times before workshop sessions, lectures, I'll actually run it, I'll speak to it myself in the car, on the bus, on my bicycle. I'm already saying it. This talk, before I even did the talk, I was talking a little bit to myself, not the whole thing, but I wanted my mind to already think that I already did this talk. And I'm just doing it again, but I already did it. The premiere was actually before I turned on the camera. And the last reason is because maybe someone's listening. God, greater universe, karma, whatever you want. I remember the movie The Secret, right? Remember that movie where he talked about these successful people, they bring it out there, they put it out in the world. So perhaps you could also choose to believe whatever your spiritual beliefs are, that by talking out loud, someone is listening that's not just yourself and not just your unconscious. It's a bigger entity, it's a bigger being. And perhaps that person, that entity, that energy will also respond to you. And as I transition into the tips, my biggest tip is put on an earpiece. That's all you need to do. You put in an earpiece or a Bluetooth microphone or a headset with a microphone, and you can talk as much as you want, because that's what separates the crazies from the normal people who are just talking on the phone. Is there a difference? I remember I was once going to a workshop and I had to learn a script for a play, and I had to rehearse it again and again, and I had to memorize it. And I was on the bus and I didn't know what to do, so I just put an earpiece and I just kept saying that same monologue again and again and again. And it liberated me to say that same thing again and again, like loudly in different accents and trying to find the articulation that I wanted. So put it in an earpiece. That's my first tip. And my second tip is do not shame or bring too much attention to kids talking to themselves or other people. Kids especially, they're talking to themselves. That's a tool, that's a vehicle that they hear themselves, they regulate, they play like that. Just because you don't dare to talk to yourself doesn't mean you have to punish them because they can't talk to themselves. Respect that. Winnicott talked about the transitional object, right? Just like in the teddy bear. You don't want to say, oh, it's just a teddy bear or the blankie or Santa Claus, okay? So respect that space, that potential space when they talk to themselves. Who are they talking to? We don't know. An imaginary friend, themselves, their babies, their puppets, whatever. Respect that. Keep that. Maintain that. Because if they can grow up and talk to themselves, they would be so much happier. The second thing is dare yourself to say, to ask. And if you're already going to talk to yourself, you might as well let it all out. Don't be nice. Don't hold it back. Don't be polite. Don't be ethical. Just let it out. Cry, scream, yell, ask questions. Allow yourself to do the whole emotional range, because at the end of the day, we're not tables or chairs, we're humans. And we're built to feel the whole range of emotions. So if you're really going to talk to yourself, kind of like what I'm doing right now, talking to the screen, I want to feel the whole range. I want to feel excitement and sadness and being pathetic and being sexual and being aggressive and being fearful. I want all of that. So at least I have an exercise in being alive. And if I can't do it with other humans or other people, I will do it with myself. And there's in the Jewish tradition, we call this hidbudedut, when you go by yourself. You seclude yourself and go to the forest and you talk and you yell and you scream and you pray. Old tradition. And I'm sure other religions also have that, the idea of just going alone into the wild. And worst case, somebody will actually answer you. So you have nothing to lose. You're also experiencing and expressing your whole emotional range, the life in its fullest, and an added bonus, you're regulating yourself, and an added bonus, you're entering potential state, and a metaphysical bonus, somebody might be listening, and the universe might actually respond or react. And the last thing I want to kind of suggest is rehearse big moments. If you're coming up, if there's a tough conversation you're facing, a presentation, a workshop, a lecture, a moment, something you really want to tell your wife, your kids, your colleagues, your friends, rehearse that. Talk to yourself first. As an improviser, sometimes I don't want to improvise everything. I want to kind of prepare my unconscious mind to this moment so I don't either freeze or fight, especially if it's like a trauma-inducing moment. So if I'm already saying it once, if I've already said it, my unconscious mind says, well, you already said this, so you can say this in person. Recently, I met a friend in New York, a friend I haven't seen in a long time, and I was anxious, and how's that going to be? And we spoke, and before we spoke, I really wanted to tell her what I thought. I really wanted that to be out there. And I didn't really know how to say it, so I just said it out loud. And even out loud, I was stumbling. I was like, how am I going to say this? And I tried saying it like this and then like that. And I was stumbling on my words, but at least I tried. And later that day when we met, when the moment arose, I found myself saying the words. I just said it. I said the thing, as we say in improv. And it was so liberating. It was just as fresh as the first time, but maybe the fact that I said it already gave me the courage to say it to her out loud in the moment. So I guess I want to say to you guys is that life is too precious to only live once. And those big moments, those key moments, the moments you either think you're going to freeze or fight or flight, take a second and rehearse them with yourself by speaking to yourself. And I imagine this world where people talk to themselves free on the streets and nobody thinks they're crazy. People are saying, wow, he's processing. She's regulating. They're playing. Can you imagine a world like that? So I hope this will encourage you to put down your phones or turn off your computers and just go talk to yourself. And if anyone's ridiculing you for doing this, you can tell them, this is mental health. And if somebody's mocking you, it's probably either because they're jealous or because they don't understand what you're doing. So you can also explain it to them, show them this video if you want, but give yourself permission to speak to yourself. I'm Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this was A Potential State.